Hey everybody, Matthew here. I just wanted to make you guys kind of a different type of video. For those of you that follow me in any way, you'll know that I like to take long clips and shrink them down for the sake of time. So it looks like I'm going at the speed of light. Well, I've recently realized that that's getting very repetitive in some regards. So I wanted to stop and make an actual video. So I'm actually explaining to you what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, and not just a high-speed video of me doing it. This particular guitar came in with a high action. Came in for more than high action, obviously. It is in a very bad shape. As you can see, it's hurt. It's hurt. The particular guitar is not worth saving, unfortunately. It is a beginner educator guitar, and for those of you that know me, I'm not afraid to bring in trash and polish a good old turd. So I've done that stuff. Anyway, this guitar is special, not because it was owned by anybody famous, but it was owned by somebody that is no longer with us. And the family member of that person is going to receive this guitar once I put it all back together, make it playable, and do a custom finish. So he originally came to me wanting to do a custom finish on a new build, and then I found out about all of this, and now here it is. So we're hoping he likes what I'm about to do. So the catch with all of this is today is Monday. It is 2:30 in the afternoon, and I have to deliver it 1,300 miles west of here Friday afternoon. So I've got a lot to do. I will be posting, so if you're watching this, it's already there, it's already done, but I will be posting stuff all week of the process. Now, mind you, this is a finish shop that does mild manufacturing, so I'm not really geared to do this type of repair, so there's going to be some janky backyard stuff going on here. A lot of you are going to cringe because I know I will, but I'm very confident it's all going to work. So looking very much forward to doing so, and looking forward to showing you guys. Thanks for checking me out, and we'll talk to you soon. All right, everybody. I wanted to kind of give you guys an idea of what we're doing here. So this is our broken neck on the acoustic guitar we're doing. So it's actually a very clean break, with the exception of some of this here. It's actually a very clean break. So what I want to do at this point now is to take the body of this guitar and the neck pocket and clean this all up. Make sure all these edges are nice and filed down, because I need to maximize the surface area. So when I glue this together, I can't talk. When I glue this back together, I will get the most adhesion I can get. So with that being said, let's set this aside. Now these pins here are crucial. I'm very glad that they actually stayed in. So the bottom pin is still in the body, and these pins are still exactly where they were left in the factory. So I'm going to try to work around that a little bit. First thing I want to do is get rid of some of this, whatever it is. It almost looks like they caulked the crappy edges. Now, for those of you that don't know, this is a Chinese manufactured guitar. It is what would be considered an entry level or educator, and it doesn't really have a lot of value because the quality isn't there. So if you missed my first video on why I'm doing this, go back and check that out. I'll make sure there's a link in the description if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're watching on my website, they're probably all together, the videos that is. So this is actually cleaning up pretty good, pretty easy, and pretty quickly, which is ideal considering I am on a very strict timeline here. And I don't want to get too carried away because I don't want there to be a big gap. Honestly, I'd like it to look better than it did when it was new, because I am actually willing to put the time into making it worthy of that. So I'm definitely glad to see this come right along. There are going to be some nicks. There's some paint damage. Now, I described in the first video that I'm doing a custom finish on this guitar, and the fact of the matter is I'm only doing the custom nude finish on the top of the guitar where the client wants the graphic. The rest of the guitar we decided to leave as it is because I belong to somebody who's no longer with us, and we wanted the guitar to remain as original as possible, even though it's going to look a lot different. So I do get a break on that regard. I'm not painting the entire guitar. Typically, I would paint the entire thing so the quality of the finish would hold up. But this guitar is not being gigged. It is going to somebody who wants to learn. So it's actually kind of a perfect scenario because it's a lot cheaper than building something like that, at least for me, because my market isn't for acoustics. It's very laborious for me. I'm not told for that sort of thing, so I can't compete as far as making acoustic guitars, nor do I really have the experience as a lot of these guys out here, so I'm not going to act like I'm going to go out there and make something that's superior to somebody else's that's been doing it longer than I've been alive. So here we go. It looks pretty clean, actually. We'll see here. Go ahead and go over to the body now. Let's take a look at this. This will be a little more difficult to get on the camera angle just because of my spaces here. So I think I'm going to ounce of prevention with a pound of cure scenario here. You know, this is all dusty and dirty. I'm going to throw a couple pieces of tape that will save me from marring up this impeccable finish work. At least most of I can. I just don't want to take my file and make big file marks, because nothing screams repair work has been done like damage from tooling that wouldn't come from the factory. So let's do that with a wider tape. I want to come down to a more narrow, because I don't really want any of this to look like I've been tampered with. Not that we're trying to fool anybody, I just want my work to be quality here. I think posting videos of this all over the internet is going to pretty much assure that it was broke at one time, but no need to make it obvious. And it looks like there is going to be some chip repair that I will probably do, just because it's very minimal and we can get away with doing it, not taking a bunch of time to do it. I know if you've watched my videos before, you've seen me, I always use the heat gun when I'm working with tape. I only do that with painting because it basically warms up that adhesive and makes it pliable. It melts almost, for lack of better words, and it gives me a nice straight line. In this particular scenario, I'm just trying to protect the finish from me rubbing up against it with my file. So there's really no need to get crazy with heat guns. Now, if you guys are doing that at home at all, I will say this: you have to be careful about how much adhesion you're trying to put on, especially like fresh paint. You see me taping off fresh paint. Listen, I've been doing this a long time, and I still sweat every time I pull that tape off, because when you get to going into like layers, you get a lot of peel back. Situations like this, if I heated it up, I could potentially get it too sticky or get it too stuck to a chip, chip out, and then when I pull the tape back, just end up pulling a huge chunk of paint with it, and nobody wants to do that either. So again, super easy. You know, this isn't a quality wood that's being used here, so it is very easy to. Now, saying that, if any of you guys ever want to try to do something like this, it's very easy to get carried away. You know, very easy to get this stuff filed off. But at the same time, if I take too much material off, then I won't get a good seal or a good glue, a good adhesion when I glue this neck back on. You guys are going to laugh once you see how I plan on clamping this. Like I said in the video, introduction video, I don't really do this type of work anymore, so I don't really have the tooling for it anymore. It was unnecessary, so I'm in a very limited space as it is, so I don't really have anything around here that I don't need or use. If this sits more than 6 months or so, it's probably gone. Now, if I just use a general rule of everything in my house, I have a lot less crap to go through, get my Christmas stuff out. But here we are, so I like to say that this is coming out very nice, very clean, very smooth, very straight, and that is exactly what we want. So, with that being said, I'm going to clean all of this off and get it prepared. Oh, there's a little bit here. I'm going to say get it prepared for gluing and get this thing set back up. I'll tell you what I'll do before I turn the camera off. Let's see how she fits. See, I did brush up into that tape. I'm really glad I put that there. Whoops, I also hit my camera. This is one of the downfalls not using the permanent mounted camera. Look at that. So that right there is good shenanigans. It appears to me that it's actually going to be better than I thought. Not only better than I thought, but one of my big worries is getting this all done. You know, spending all this time getting it all done, putting all this labor into it, and then finding out that when you put string tension on it, it breaks or cracks or messes a finish up. With this, especially once I get the fretboard on, which is another very clean break. I wish I knew how this was broke, because most of the time you get one clean break, you don't get 3 or 4. It looks like it's going to be very structurally stable again. So exciting. And it even was pretty damn straight. That's pretty surprising for a guitar of this quality. Stargazer. I thought it was a Starcaster. I guess I really didn't even know what I was messing with. Alright guys, I want to get this cleaned up ready for glue, and then I'll show you guys how I do that. Alright everybody, we're back here with the little acoustic project. As you can see, the neck is off as it came. Everything's been cleaned up as far as the pocket and the neck goes, so before I glue the neck all back on, I'm actually going to go ahead and do the finish, because it's way easier to do it without the neck. So this particular job is calling for a custom painted finish on the top, and then I'm just going to top coat it in some flat clear. So basically all I need to do is clean this up, and I'm just going to give it a nice, good, clean scuff, so I have a nice surface for adhesion. So this is a beginner level guitar. Nobody's taken this on stage, so before you comment about how I'm putting an inch of paint on this guitar, nobody is going to be offended by the tone. This is surely an educator, and the person getting this is going to use this to learn on. So not a big deal, but he does want it to be custom. I think that's cool, and that's kind of what my thing is. So here we go. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get some of the good old Zep Purple Degreaser, and I'm going to try not to spray it on all the barrel wood, but just the finished parts and the plastic and whatnot, just to get all of the dirt and grime and crap off of it. Now, I use this Zep stuff. I'm not trying to sponsor Zep, or not sponsor, but endorse Zep. It's really good stuff, and it's water-based. So it comes as a concentrate. It's really easy to use. Now that I'm you know, I do this in my home shop. I've spent most of my life doing this in a home shop environment, so I try to do everything that is water-based, not solvent-based. I do shoot lacquers and stuff now and again. I do have proper ventilation for all that stuff, but you know, I am still, it's not something I like to make, try to do often, for lack of better words. I keep half paying attention here to what I'm doing and how I'm talking to you guys. I'm sorry. So I'm going to give her a nice little scuff. First thing I want to do is get my corner block out, and we're going to get all my edges here around my saddle. So if this were, you know, Taylor or an old Martin or something of that nature. Oh, can you hear me? I don't know if you can hear that mic. I want to take my microphone. I'm actually just going to clip it over here. I'm hoping you guys can hear me. Should be able to. I would actually remove all this, especially at least the pick guard. But this is not quite that kind of job. So we're going to do the best we can with what we got. And it turns out I'm pretty good at polishing turds. So let's clean this bad boy up. Basically what I'm doing is I'm using a block with a very fine edge on it, and that allows me to get tight in the places without actually getting up into them, because I don't want to leave sanding marks on the bridge or the pick guard. As you can tell, it's a tight spot. So in this particular situation, we're going to always run with the grain even over finish. Some of you may disagree with that, and that's fine. I understand everybody does it their own way. It's just kind of like a rule that I made for myself a long time ago, and it's become such a general habit. I never have any accidents or anything. So this is new camera angle. I hope this works all right. I'm trying to figure out how to link CCTV cameras, and once I do, I'll be able to do this from the station cameras. If you're not hip, there's a camera at all the stations here in the shop. If you have a contract build or custom shop, you can actually just log into them. It's just like the cameras if you have them on your house. It's basically the exact same thing. Download the app, you get a email address and a password to log in with, and then you can basically, I just sent out a text, hey Joe, I'm working on your guitar today after lunch, and then he can log in and watch if he wants, or he can just wait till the end of the day, and I'll actually give him a time snippet. Like, I work your guitar, 1:30 to 2:45 on station 5, 3, and 7. Just a general kind of breakdown of what I'm doing to his guitar, so it's made way more interactive, and it's made a lot more easier for me to do progress reports, because I don't have to do any emails and sit down at the end of the day and reach out to each individual person, long form type email, pictures, whatever. So that all works really well. All right, now carry on around the pick guard. Now, in this particular scenario, I am obviously not removing the pick guard, so I'm going to paint over it, which will be fine because it'll look brand new again. Top will look brand new, with the rest of the guitar will very much be reminiscent of what it's always been. But I still want to get close to this, because this is especially a susceptible spot for like peeling and bubbling and anything. So I want to make sure everything is clean, everything has been sanded, and has a nice surface for the adhesion process. I have to admit, it's very strange sitting here talking to myself. I mean, I realize there's a camera going around, but I'm surprised my dogs aren't down here. Like, they're crazy. Fortunately, the artwork is going to be done by hand, so there won't be much of any masking. I will mask this bare wood, of course, when I do the top coat. How I will do that is I will leave about a 32nd of an inch of finish beyond the actual existing finish line that I have here, and that's for a couple reasons. I want to clean up some of the breakout. You know, when it broke, the paint didn't break even, so it's kind of rugged. I want to clean that up, and it'll give me the opportunity to back up about a 32nd with the paint by just sanding that out. That way I have a nice tight fit with my fretboard. I don't want any gaps or anything like that. Another thing, if you ever do any work like this on a guitar like this, just try to save it for yourself or somebody else. Be careful sanding around this stuff. These decals are, they don't put a lot of paint on these for the sake of tone. They do it because it's inexpensive. So it's easy to sand through this stuff. I've polished enough turds to know. Alright, so now we can get rid of that. We go to a soft block. This gives me a little bit more contouring ability, but it has a stiff edge. And that allows me to kind of break down some of these high spots that I may have around the neck and the broken area of the paint. So basically right now I filed this down already. I just want it to be nice and smooth. That way I don't have any rugged edges. Like I say, I'm going to bring the paint back to the fretboard, so there won't be any kind of roughness. And then from there, I'm just going to give it the, basically what I'm doing now is I'm just giving it a nice scuff. I want to break the grain through the finish. So as time has gone on, the finish has settled into the wood because the wood, with humidity and whatnot, expands and contracts. So the finish will tend to fall into like the pores or sink into the pores of the wood. And I'm basically just sanding enough to get that out. So I want one nice smooth surface. Now I'm going over this with a rougher grit right now, and I want to come back over it with a smoother grit when I'm preparing to do the finish work, because I want it all to be perfectly smooth and straight and level. So long strokes, lengthwise with the grain is ideal. You've done automotive stuff, same concept. So look back at pictures of my work, especially on the workbench or different guitars. You'll notice that the lights that are reflecting the finish are straight and not distorted, and that is because I go through a lot. I take the extra time and effort to make the finish straight, level, and like it should be, I guess it should say. A little nick there. So that's a little bit of a worry because I don't want to get too carried away and rough through this clear, even though I can hide it with my artwork. Now I'm going to be doing freehand artwork, so there's a lot of artistic liberties here. One thing I don't want to do is sand too much in one spot and then have a low spot, because when you look at the reflection of the light in the finish, which you probably can't hear, if I make a low spot, that light's going to be like, and you'll be able to see that. So definitely don't want to do that. Now there's all kinds of damage here and there. So we'll just see what we can do. This is always a gamble, even when I look at guitars and I say, hey, this is what it's going to cost to do repair work or whatever, you never really know what you're going to get into. Some of this, especially if it's been repainted and it's been painted poorly, you don't know how many coats, and you turn into a real nightmare real fast and become very laborious. So, quote somebody, some crazy price because you don't know what you're going to get into. But at the same time, it's always kind of a roll in the dice situation. I guess maybe that's why I don't do this much anymore. So most of that damage is ironed out already, and that is good news because I'm not favoring any one area. I'm just trying to keep it straight and level. Now, for those of you who don't know, I talk about keeping it straight and level along strokes. This is not how. There's more to it. You typically need, an actual DA or something to get it really like laser straight and level. In this particular case, because I'm painting in the flat texture, you won't be able to. It's going to hide a lot of it, even though it's pretty much all of it. One ding's come out, so far good deal. Now these old guitar tops, especially spruce tops, these especially that aren't favorable in quality, they can often start to bow in that between their structure points inside. So if you see that, it's not always a finish issue. It sometimes can be the actual top of the guitar, and that's a common thing. It just happens over time, especially if the guitar has been wet or humid, as not physically wet, but in a very humid environment for long periods of time. Looks like we do have another really nasty gash up here, probably the worst one of all. I may have to get a little creative with that because that ain't coming out with paint. That's all the way down into the wood. So let's finish up this little spot here. All right, I didn't lose any decals, so that's always good. Yeah, that is an absolute. I don't want to speak too soon, but I kind of thought this was going to be a nightmare, especially with only 3 days to really do it. At this point, I would say it's going to be painted this evening. And if that's the case, I come in the morning and glue it back together. So doing it in 2 days would be a very beautiful thing. So we do have some damage here. I may say get a little more creative with it. I don't know how much repair I'm willing to make. I'll back to that in another video. All right, that's it for now. Let's get her prepped and cleaned up and ready to paint. Alright everybody, so if you're following this project, you'll know that I had to do repair in the top, and that's what I'm letting dry right now. I just couldn't let this headstock go. So basically, I want the whole front of the guitar to look new and proper. So the top is going to be a similar, going to be a burst, and the dark color is going to be very similar to this. So what I'm planning on doing is leaving the back of the size of the guitar exactly like they were, and then I want the front and the obvious part to look like it's new, and I want it all to be kind of teamed together so it looks like it's supposed to be like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to prep this top real quick, top of this fascia, headstock fascia, and then clean up this nut area, just the hair. Actually, I'm going to start with that. In a big file. And that way, when I put this thing together, it'll be a lot smoother. The bad news for me, though, is because of my time restraint and the time frame in which I had to put this together, I couldn't get this odd size nut here fast enough. So I have to make my own. I have some blanks already here, so I'll make a separate video for that. That is perfect. Gotta be really careful because I don't want to take this logo off the guitar. So I'm just going to real nice and easy scuff it up. I want to clean it up and get all of anything that shouldn't be on the finish off of it. I'm not going to get too carried away with the repair because I can see some of these edges are kind of rough, but the matte paint will hide a lot of the imperfections. So I basically just want to get a nice solid color and then a nice smooth flat finish over top of it, and that should bring it all together. Like that. So I'm going to go up some grit here, make it just a hair smoother. That way you don't have any witness marks or any kind of sanding evidence in the finish. I just want this to be nice and smooth. Just because the matte will hide a lot of the imperfections doesn't mean I need to contribute to them. Yeah, this will work just fine. Alrighty. Alright, now I'm going to check on the body and see if I can do a video on that repair, and we'll go from there. Alright, everybody. Back to the Stargazer project. What I want to do now is clean up some of these front edges, and where the paint is chipped away. I'm not doing any kind of surface restoration there. There's going to be a little bit of a dip, but we're just trying to make it overall, make the headstock appear fresh like the body will. That way it does not look so terrible. So I just have some acrylic lacquer clear here, and I'm going to try to match this up. So this color brown I'm starting with is kind of a lighter brown, where the guitar is kind of a dark coffee brown. So I have to make a little bit of an adjustment here. Let's see, we're going to do this one by eye. A healthy start. This is a little bit more rich of a brown, where this is obviously a lot darker. So I'm going to add some black to it just to see where we go with that. This black has been previously or priorly reduced. It's not super rich. I did bring it down quite a bit. Continue that direction. Just making very fine adjustments and we get too carried away and make it too dark. Much closer. Another fine adjustment. The black. That is super close. Super, super close. I'm going to dry a little darker, but it's still, I'm putting it on this, it appears to be, I don't know what, it's be some kind of mahogany. And just make another, see how far we get with that. I'm literally adding 4 drops at a time. I'm really close. Might have just a tint of red in it. Yeah, that helped a whole lot. Because I'm using black, the brown can often get muddy if I put too much in it, and I have quite a bit in it. So I'm going to add just a hair bit more red to bring the brown back out. This particular color on the guitar is a little, got a little bit of red in it, so I think this is going to do it. Just a hair darker. All right, see how this works. Not going to look as correct on this side because I've sanded the top of it down, so it looks a little lighter. That's why I was trying to match it to the paint on the back. You see that's what I've come up with, and obviously it looks a lot darker. And I don't have to be super careful with this because the fretboard is being glued over. Now I don't want to get carried away, obviously, because I want good adhesion across the board. No pun intended. I want to clean up these corners. Just so, like, if it's sitting on the stand, it doesn't look like it's all beat up. From the front, it looks brand new, and then from the back, it looks like how he would have remembered it. Trying to hold this so you guys can see it. I don't even know if I'm in the frame. I've noticed that in other videos where I've like walked out of the frame. Very unintentional. As you can see, I made quite a bit of paint, and that is because when I do the artwork on the top, I'm going to use the color of the back of the guitar for some of the shadowing. And that's how I plan on, one of the ways I'm wanting to tie the artwork into the rest of the guitar. I want it all to look appropriate, like it's supposed to be like that. Opposed to just somebody scribbling all over it. That is success. So, again, not perfect, but for what we're doing here, absolutely appropriate. All right, put that in front of the fans. Check this for later. All right, more to come. All right, everybody. So this guitar has a big ding in the top from the damage of it being broken into multiple pieces. Overall, the condition of the top is very well. I don't think the guitar actually had string tension for very long because it's very straight. So hoping I can make a half decent polished turd out of this. So I filled it with some similar color wood filler. I'm going to now get rid of the excess so I have a nice smooth spot. And I'm not really worried about the color because not only is this getting a burst that's darker on the outside, but I have artistic liberties in the artwork that I'm putting on it. So there's, you can see it much lighter than the rest. So now that hole is filled, I'm going to move up some grit here so it's nice and smooth and ready for a finish. Getting cleaned up and finished. Pretty clean, nice and smooth. Well, actually, glad I caught that. All right, beautiful. In a typical situation, I'd have to go back through with an airbrush and actually match the color of the wood on the top so I can fill this in and basically make it match. And then over top of that, I would have started to darken that same color, and using a brush, a fine line brush, would have then marked in the grain work that would match the surrounding area. And then from there, I would clear over top of it. So fortunately with this, I can get away with using some of the artwork to cover it, so I won't have to do all that extra work, which will put me just a little more ahead on this project I already don't have any time to do. So here we are, day 2 of this, and I should actually have the finish done and it all glued together by tonight, which would leave me 2 days to basically make a nut, get it all set up and playable. So doing good so far. Alrighty, now we're back here for another episode of the Stargazer saga. Basically just kind of cleaning it up a little bit. We're going to mask all of this off so I can get the base color down. So I'm going to do base color, I'm going to do artwork, and then I'm going to do a darker burst around the edges to cover up the artwork, to kind of put it inside of the shape of the guitar. And then I will then clear over all of that to kind of seal it in there and give the guitar a nice smooth level finish. So in most cases when I would finish a guitar like this, I would take the pick guard off. But being the cheap plastic pick guard that it is, it will not be reusable. So I decided just to leave that on there. I'm going to mask it off very simply, and then mask this bridge off, and then of course around the edges, and then we will be ready to go. So with that being said, I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me, because this is going to take me a few minutes. So we'll just go into hyperdrive. All right, everybody, I figured out how to get the microphones to work with the shot cams. So no more out of frame shots. If you're following this project, you'll know that I've done a couple of them that were not so hot. So basically what we're doing now is we're going to mix up some paint. So I got some standard acrylic black or clear. I'll put in some yellow dye here. Basically what I'm going to go for is I'm going to put just a little bit in here, and it's going to make this, it's going to tint it yellow, which is exactly what I want, because I want to be able to see the wood through the finish of the guitar. I just want to tint the color of it, and I'm going to go for like a vintage amber, maybe just a little more rich in the orange. So that's why I'm going to start with the light, and I'm just going to make some real fine coarse adjustments by putting red into it so you can see through it. That's the idea. When you do it like this, you have to be very, very thorough at your passes, and you have to use a pretty decent gun, because otherwise it's very splotchy. Start with 2 drops. See what that turns into. Definitely yellow. It's very orange in the cup and very yellow on the stick. So let's a little experiment here. Hang on. It's still very lean in color, period. So I'm actually going to add some more yellow. I normally don't like to go back and forth, but I don't want to have to put 50 layers of clear on it because that is not going to work either. I definitely don't want to ruin the tone of the guitar. For those of you that don't know, lots of paint, lots of thick paint on a guitar will ruin its tone, make it sound muddy, and takes a lot away from the sound. Looks like I'm getting just a little bit. I need to take a little more coarse action here. Hard part about doing this, suspending colors and clear often with this, at least doing it this way for me, color always doesn't look the same in the actual cup here as it's going to look on the wood. So I definitely didn't want to take my time. At the same time, I'm going to be here all day. So let's see what this does here. Yeah, that's definitely way better. I want it to be just a hair deeper. Alright, we'll let that dry and see exactly how it looks, but I think we're pretty darn close, so more to come.